Ladies and gentlemen, we just witnessed one of the most dominant world records of this 2024 season, and that's because Jacob Kiplimo from Uganda just sent shock waves into the running world at the 2:02:47 Zevenheuvelenloop, which I'm sure I'm pronouncing incorrectly. We just saw the half-marathon world record holder unleash some crazy speed over a slightly shorter distance, and this performance was truly one of the most dominant records of 2024 because just a few minutes into this race, he was practically in his own universe. To rewind a little bit, not even 2 minutes into this race, and Capo had already made a strong move to attack this world record and also gap the field. Now it's notable to mention that this race has no pace setters, so unlike the marathon majors around the world, nobody can run up front with Kipo to set a steady rhythm, and they also can't block the win for him, so this definitely makes running this kind of race slightly more challenging, and it's all up to Kiplimo to hold a solid pace. But either way, his smooth and powerful running stride make Kiplimo one of the most effortless looking runners that I have ever seen, and even when he is running under 2 minutes and 50 seconds per kilometer, he looks like this. Through the opening 5 kilometers, Kiplimo had already achieved a speedy time of 13 minutes and 37 seconds, and his opening 5 kilometers are all shown here. This pace equates to just under 4 minutes and 23 seconds per mile, and yet he still has 10 kilometers left to run in this event. Now it's notable to mention that the official world record actually stands with Jacob Kiplimo and also his fellow Uganda and Joshua Chepi, and they ran a time of 41 minutes and 5 seconds on this very course, with Chepi running this time in 2018 and Capo ran this time in 2023. But at this point in this year's installment, Kiplimo was already well ahead of that pace, and he only seemed to be going faster and faster as this race continued. Unlike many other record-breaking runs that we have seen this season, this performance went completely unchallenged. I mean, this was a complete dominant moment for Kiplimo, and to get a better idea at just how far ahead he was by the 5K split, the camera operators had actually gone back to the second place runner. Then they had to shift gears and accelerate for a decent amount of time just to catch up to Kiplimo. He was practically already out of sight from the second place runner by the 5K split, and again as this race continued, he only gapped the field by more and more distance. Through the 10-kilometer split, Kipo had at a time of 27 minutes and 18 seconds, a pace that now placed him at 243 per km or 423 per mile. This was still on record pace to go under 41 minutes and 5 seconds, but he still needed to run his final 5K in around 13:50, which is certainly no cakewalk, and most people could never do this. But again, Jacob Kiplimo is just built different. Right after passing through 10 kilometers, it really did seem as though Kiplimo shifted gears. It was almost as if he was talking to himself, saying that he knew he was on tempo and he only needed to run a quick 5K to achieve a record. Now, we have seen fast finishes before. In fact, in last year's installment, we saw Kipo fly down this final stretch, but for today, Kipo ran this final 5 kilometers in a truly dominant way. From the 10K split up to 14K, Capo achieved times of 246, 250, followed by a 235 and then a 238. Now, this was a little bit strange seeing it on paper, but when you look at the elevation change of this course, it makes perfect sense. This is a very big uphill for the early stages, and then in the final moments there is a huge amount of downhill. This put him well ahead of the previous world record, and with this long bending and downhill final kilometer, it really was inevitable that he was going to break this record. Now, I did already mention how easy Kiplimo looks when running so fast, but for these final moments this really shined through, because even though he was running very close to 420 per mile, this 24-year-old Ugandan just looked as though he was out for a casual jog. Yes, he was moving, but there really was no effort to what he was doing. He just knows how to stay relaxed even though he is borderline sprinting. It was unbelievable to see Kiplimo achieve such dominance on today's course in the Netherlands, and with a finishing time of 40 minutes and 42 seconds, Jacob Kiplimo just smashed his own world record and the previous record of Joshua Chepi by 23 seconds, achieving a new world record on a completely solo run, and one of the best performances of this young man's career. This time equates to an exact overall pace of 242.4 per kilometer or 422 per mile, pretty much the equivalent of running right around 65 seconds per lap, and Capo just did this about 38 consecutive times. Now, notably, he ran one of the fastest kilometers of the day for his final kilometer, as he achieved a time of 2 minutes and 39 seconds, which was just one of 5 kilometers that were under 240 for this new world record. This full list of kilometer splits puts into perspective just how consistent Kiplimo was running here, but it's also interesting to mention that this course is anything but flat. In fact, it's in the name called the Seven Hills run, and yet the splits were quite consistent, meaning that Kimo probably ran his opening 10K with a very strong effort, but then going down the final hills he put forth enough effort to make sure he got this record. Jacob Kiplimo is easily one of the most complete and well-rounded runners in the history of distance running. He has a 12:45,000 to his name, his run at 2,633 10,000 m. He owns a 57:31 for the half marathon. He's also run a 726 for the 3,000, and now he is the official sole owner of the 15K world record at 4,042, more than 20 seconds faster than any other performance. This performance was amazing, but what is even crazier is what we witnessed when he actually ran his half marathon world record, because in this event in the 2021 Lisbon half marathon, Kiplimo actually split through 15 kilometers in 40:27, meaning that en route to his half marathon record he actually went slightly faster than this. So it is possible that Capo will one day go faster than a 4,042, but for now he has certainly cemented his name as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, road racer in the world right now. I think the only athlete that genuinely could challenge him as the greatest road runner is Yomi Kila, who has also run some crazy times in 2024, including breaking Kiplimo's half marathon world record. But returning to this race, Kipo's win was so massive that managed to take down the next closest athlete by more than 2.5 minutes, with Mike Fien from the Netherlands coming in second place in 43:19. Still a very speedy clocking that most people could only dream of, but for today this performance was the equivalent of 1 entire kilometer behind Jacob Kiplimo. I have been following Kipo's progress for years. I remember when he took down Jacob Kiplimo over the 300,000 with a remarkable finishing kick over the final 100, and I also remember when he won the World Championships in the half marathon, taking down big athletes such as Joshua Chepi and many great Kenyans. It really does seem as though there is next to nothing that this young Ugandan athlete cannot do, from the 3,000 to the 5K on the roads, all the way up to the half marathon, and potentially one day to the marathon. Jacob Kiplimo truly is built different, and this 15K world record just further solidifies his name as one of the GOATs on the roads. And now I would love to hear from all of you. What do you think about this 15K record from Jacob Kiplimo? Do you think he one day can go under 40 minutes, and what times do you think he is set to run for the remainder of his career? Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, until next time, for ladies and gentlemen, we just witnessed one of the most dominant world records of this 2024 season, and that's because Jacob Kiplimo from Uganda just sent shock waves into the running world at the 2:02:47 Zevenheuvelenloop, which I'm sure I'm pronouncing incorrectly. We just saw the half marathon world record holder unleash some crazy speed over a slightly shorter distance, and this performance was truly one of the most dominant records of 2024, because just a few minutes into this race he was practically in his own universe. To rewind a little bit, not even 2 minutes into this race, and Capo had already made a strong move to attack this world record and also gap the field. Now it's notable to mention that this race has no pace setters, so unlike the marathon majors